problem begins when organizations expect compliance to solve problems. It was never designed to solve problems.
One is evaluating documentation, and the other is evaluating the opportunity.
But many compliance programs operate on periodic assessments, and that's a fundamental mismatch. Let's start in January. The organization completes a successful audit, documentation is complete, policies are approved, controls are reviewed, everyone celebrates. Now February arrives, a developer accidentally uploads credentials because attackers don't target certificates, attackers target weaknesses.
Hey everyone, welcome back to SecureDApp. As always, this is your host and host Kunal, and today we are back with a new episode of Quantum Security series. And with me, I have Rahul Kumar to discuss on this. Before we move further, let me just introduce myself. I am Kunal Chowdhury, Assistant Manager Marketing, SecureDApp. And today's topic is why compliant companies still get hacked. And to talk more on this topic, I welcome Rahul. Rahul, how are you, my friend?
Hi Kunal, thank you once again. Back to be very much excited to be back here again because this conversation will lead many of the organization to hear us. So not because compliance is bad, but because compliance is often misunderstood. So let's see, Kunal.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rahul. If you can just introduce yourself for our audience, it would be great.
I am Rahul Kumar. I am the product head of Quantum Vault in SecureDApp. So let's start.
Absolutely, Rahul. So compliance definitely has some benefits, Rahul.
Yes, the simplest explanation in this is that compliance is a set of rules, and those rules are designed to establish minimum standards. They tell organization what controls should exist and what policies should exist, and what processes should exist and what evidence should exist. The goal is consistency, the goal is accountability, and the goal is governance. Compliance helps organization avoid chaos. Without standards, every company would approach security differently. Some would do too little, some would ignore important risks completely. Frameworks create structure, and that's very much valuable.
Absolutely. So I again said, so compliance definitely has some benefits.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of benefits. Compliance improves documentations, compliance improves accountability, and it improves governance, it helps organize and identify obvious weaknesses and creates discipline. The problem begins when organizations expect compliance to solve problems. It was never designed to solve problems.
And that's where the confusion starts.
Yes, exactly, because compliance and security are related to each other, but they are not identical. Compliance asks, do the required controls exist? And security asks, can attackers still succeed? So those are completely different things, different questions.
And that's an important distinction, Rahul. Can you give me an example on this?
Yes, absolutely, certainly. And imagine an auditor visits an organization. The auditor asks, do you have an access control policy? And the organization will say yes. The auditor reviews the document and everything looks good. The control passes. Now let's look at the same situation from an attacker's perspective. The attackers doesn't care whether a policy exists or not. The attackers cares whether someone accidentally shared credentials. They will care about where privileged accounts are protected, whether misconfiguration exists, or whether there is a way inside. The auditor and the attacker are evaluating completely different things.
Yeah, that's fascinating. One is evaluating documentation, and the other is evaluating the opportunity.
Yes, exactly. And attackers are incredibly good at finding opportunities. That's why some organizations become surprised after breaches. They are measuring success using audit outcomes. Attackers are measuring success using exploitable weaknesses. Those are the two very different scorecards.
Absolutely. And Rahul, let's just challenge this idea a little. There are executives watching who spend enormous budgets on compliance program. Some might hear this discussion and think you are saying compliance doesn't matter. What would you say to them?
I would say the opposite to them. Compliance matters. It is important and it should absolutely be taken seriously. The mistake isn't investing in compliance, the mistake is stopping them. Imagine somebody says, I passed my driving test. That's good. It proves a minimum level of competence. But passing a driving test doesn't guarantee you'll never have an accident. It doesn't guarantee you'll never encounter dangerous conditions. It doesn't guarantee you'll never make mistakes. It simply proves you met a standard at a specific moment. Compliance works similarly. Passing an audit demonstrates that certain requirements were satisfied at particular point in time. It does not guarantee immunity from cyber attacks.
Yeah, I like that analogy, Rahul, because most of the people would immediately understand that passing a driving test isn't the same thing as being perfect driver forever is.
Yes, exactly. Yet organization often makes mistakes, often expect compliance certifications to provide that level of assurance, and that's unrealistic. Cybersecurity isn't static. It is constantly changing. Threats changes, technology changes, and even attacks technique also changes. Business environments changes, people changes, vendor changes, and even cloud configuration changes. Everything changes. Attackers adapt every single day. But many compliance programs operate on periodic assessments, and that's a fundamental mismatch.
Absolutely, Rahul. And let's talk about that a bit more. What do attackers do differently from auditors?
Everything. An auditor typically evaluates evidence against predefined requirements. An attacker evaluates opportunities against real-world environments. The auditor review whether vulnerability management exists. An auditor looks for an unpatched systems. Even the auditor may verify for multi-factor authentication is required. Attacker looks for one account where it's missing. An auditor may confirm a policy exists. An attacker looks for someone violating that policy. Those perspectives are very different, and attackers only need one opening. Organizations often need thousands of control functioning correctly simultaneously.
And that sounds a bit unfair game here.
Yeah, in many ways it is. And defenders must be right continuously. Attackers only need occasional, you can say, yeah, occasional success. That's why organizations cannot rely exclusively on compliance. They need continuous security operations, continuous monitoring, and continuous improvement, and even continuous validation because threats don't wait for the next audit cycle.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest lessons already. Passing an audit is not the same thing as stopping an attacker. Passing an audit simply means that yes, for now your code is correct. For now your code is uh, claw free, and for now your code is somewhat defended. But that doesn't guarantee that your code or your organization, your product, or whatever you are building will not be attacked.
And that understanding difference is the first step towards building a truly resilient organizations.
Absolutely, Rahul. So, Rahul, let's talk about a statement that might make some compliance professional uncomfortable. Audit reports do not stop attackers. When people hear that, some may think we are dismissing the value of assets, not assets, audits. But I don't think that what's you are saying.
Well, not at all. Audits are valuable. Audits create accountability. Audits force organizations to examine controls. Audits often identify weaknesses, but we need to understand their limitations. An audit report is evidence. It is a documentation. It is a validation. It is not active defense.
Yeah, explain that in distinction.
Let's imagine two scenarios. In the first scenario, an auditor visits your organizations. The auditor asks for a proof that access reviews are conducted. You provide records, you provide approvals, and you provide documentations. The control passes. Now imagine a ransomware operator doesn't ask for documentations. The ransomware operator scans your environment, looks for vulnerability, looks for exposed credential, and even look for privileged accounts for weaknesses. These are completely different activity.
Yeah, one is verifying and the other is attacking.
Attacking, yeah, exactly. Auditors validate processes. Attackers exploit gaps. And unfortunately, a company can have excellent documentation while still having an exploitable weaknesses.
Absolutely. And Rahul, coming back to the real world scenario, let's talk about the frequency of audits. How often are audits performed in an organization or in a company in general, if we talk?
Typically, I would say typically annually, sometimes quarterly, and sometimes on a scheduled cycle. But attackers don't operate on schedules. Attackers don't wait 12 months between attempts. They don't respect compliance calendars. They operate continuously 24 into 7, every week of the year.
Yeah, that's an important point because a company might pass an audit in January and may get breached in February as well.
Yes, and that's not hypothetical. That happens regularly. An audit represents a snapshot, a security represents a moving target, and snapshot can become outdated very, very quickly, especially in cloud environments where infrastructure changes constantly.
Absolutely. So Rahul, let us just imagine for a moment. Let us imagine that I am a CEO of an organization. I have just spent millions on compliance initiatives. I have hired consultants. I have implemented controls. I have passed assessments. Uh, what are the blind spots that I as a CEO is still missing
Many,
or I
many,
might
I would
miss?
say. There are many, severals. So you might have credential exposure, you will have insider threats, you must have cloud misconfiguration, even third-party vendor risk, have excessive privileges, you must have weak incident response capability, and you must have poor monitoring, you must have vulnerable software. None of those problems disappear simply because compliance requirements were satisfied.
Yeah, I think that's what surprises executives. They assume certification means protection.
And that's understandable because certifications create confidence. And the danger is when confidence becomes overconfidence. Organizations begin believing we passed the audit, we must be secure. That mindset often causes investment in security to slow down. And attackers love that situation because security compliancy creates opportunity to the attackers.
Absolutely. Rahul, let's walk through a realistic scenario. A company passes a major compliance assessment. Everything looks excellent. How can that company or an organization still end up on the front page because of a breach?
Very, very easily. Let's start in January. The organization completes a successful audit. Documentation is complete. Policies are approved. Controls are reviewed. Everyone celebrates. Now February arrives. A developer accidentally uploads credentials into a public repository. Nobody notices it. March arrives. A cloud storage bucket is configured. Nobody notices it. April arrives, a third party vendor is compromised, and then also nobody notices it. And then May arrives, an employee, sorry, clicks a sophisticated phishing email, credentials are stolen, attackers begin moving through the environment, and still nobody notices it. And then June arrives, July arrives, and the breach becomes public, and everyone notices it.
Absolutely. And the compliance report didn't prevent any of those events.
Yeah, slowly, the customer data starts leaving the network. Attackers begin moving through the environment. So everything is leaked. Because
Everything is
compliance
leaked.
validated the existence of control at a point in time. It did not continuously monitor every decision made afterward. Security requires ongoing vigilance, not annual validation, I would say.
That's a very important line that you said. Security is a continuous monitoring thing. It's not about annual validation. So I think with that, we will not take much of your time, Rahul. I think you spit some interesting facts and some important facts rather, which shall be taken care of by the founders, by the CTOs, by the organizational community. And these facts are some things that you cannot neglect. So thank you so much for joining, Rahul. Thank you so much for having uh, thank you so much for sharing so much of knowledge with our audience, with our community. Any final words from your side?
Well, I would say this compliance will help the organization meet requirement and security help organizations survive attacks. Both matters, both are important, but they are not the same thing. Never assume a certificate is a shield and never ever assume this audit is a protection. Because attackers don't target certificates, attackers target weaknesses, and security is the continuous process of finding those weaknesses before they do.
Absolutely, very nicely said, Rahul. Very rightly said as well. Uh, so, guys, you know what's important. It's not about, yeah, compliance certification is important for an organization to run on a daily basis. On a particular country, there are certain compliance like DPDP, GDPR, VARA, many of them are there, but compliance certificate doesn't guarantee you the safest that the organization is in safe hands. They just tell you that yes, this organization is performing in this particular role, and they are telling that their data is safe, but the data will only be safe when you monitor it continuously. So thank you so much, Rahul. Thank you to the audience who have watched till now. I think if you have watched the video till this end, you might have liked it. So if you did so, please hit the like button. Share this video with your friends, families, and colleagues. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, SecureDApp. Follow Quantum Vault on LinkedIn and quantumvault.tech, which is the website. Go and check out how Quantum Vault works. And with that, we will be signing off here. We will definitely see you next time on the next episode of Quantum Security series. But till then, stay safe, stay secure, and as always, I say, stay ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rahul.
Thank you.